Welcome to Beers with Contractors.
Oh, Terry. You know what my favorite thing about having a podcast with you is, buddy?
All the beer we get to drink?
Technical difficulties.
No,
Can
God,
you tell? I'm
no.
just fucking... Anyway, our 6 listeners, they don't get to see that. So,
Or they don't get to understand the 30 minutes that we spent trying to figure this out beforehand.
that's right. Before we just mail it in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I can't see it from my house. Isn't that a contractor's term?
Looks good from my house.
That's it. Hey, I got to ask you a question. First impressions, when we first met, 1 or 2 sentences, what did you think of me?
Of you? Bad life choices and far too much energy for your age and your level of responsibility.
Okay. I was going to be polite about yours. I thought you were incredibly sensible and well-behaved. And I meant that seriously. I thought you were a smart guy. And
You shouldn't lie. Well,
I didn't think you drank that much. Then I figured out I can be drinking buddies with this guy.
oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, isn't it funny how some people, they just kind of like pop up and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, this guy, where did he come from? So, you know, I've already given you a precursor because I was talking about this guy 2 weeks ago. I'm pumped about this guest coming on. So I typically have this long, lengthy bio typed up, but I'm going to let him do the talking today.
Nice.
This person today, in an industry that is full of little small owner operators, to people that actually get it done and have figured out the business model. Met this guy like 4 months ago in the concrete coating space. And you've seen this market growing. Tons of franchises popping up everywhere. But then, you know, you turn around, it's just one guy in a trailer. And this guy, I'm interested to hear his story because so many people need to hear it. So our guest today is the owner of Endless Poxybilities, Alosha Pederson. This guy is a rock star in the concrete coating space. And what I love about it is kind of like, you know, when you buy a car and then you start seeing that car everywhere. I met this guy. I started seeing him everywhere on social media. It just pops up. But our guest today, Alosha Pederson with Endless Poxybilities. Alosha, welcome to Beers with Contractors. Cheers, buddy.
How you guys doing?
Doing good.
I'm going to cheers with the water because I still have work to do today.
I tell you what, yeah, we're working too. We're working real hard.
Successful and responsible.
Yeah. So hold on, because I want people to hear your story before we dive into questions, Alosha. So what drove you to want to start focusing on concrete coatings? And then like where you guys started and where you're at now? Because it's awesome to hear where you guys are at.
Yeah, so my story really starts with a lapse in judgment. I don't come from the industry. I had, we'll call it a fantastic job. I worked for a great company. My life was set. This lapse in judgment happened back in January of 2022. Unfortunately, we'll call it the work conditions of the company that I was at had changed a little bit, which forced me to start looking at other directions in my life. At this point, I was looking at getting a different job, different company, going back to school. Nothing really grabbed on to me. And then one night, I was laying on the couch, scrolling Facebook. I had an old friend of mine down in Texas. He had started a concrete coating company 5 years ago. And, you know, it was just like the perfect timing, right? I'm searching for the new direction. I'm able to receive, you know, these opportunities. And I come across this page. And just like every concrete coating guy, right, puts up the most beautiful work. I mean, he's got his metallics, these cool projects. And I opened it up and I started scrolling through it. And dude, I got obsessed. And when I say I got obsessed with the idea, 3 days later, I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I'm an ideas guy, right? So I will have an idea every 5 minutes. And the test to if my idea is a good idea or not, if I can think about it longer than 5 minutes, it's a great idea. And now I'm like 3 days into it and I had to send it.
That's funny. Yeah. So wait a minute. Adderall or no Adderall?
0 Adderall.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, you know it's
unmedicated. Yeah.
Now hold on. When was this that you finally surpassed the 3 day mark and then you started going after it?
Yeah. So this would have been the first week of January 2022.
Yeah. Yeah. Your growth has been nuts. And where are you guys at now? Like size of company, crews? I know you're in a new office. That's why it looks like a studio there.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now we have 2 brands, Endless Poxybilities, Stonelux Coatings, and then we have 3 satellite production locations split between different parts of Minnesota. And then we have a headquarters office that we just moved into here in the Twin Cities.
So yeah, see what I mean, Terry? Like most guys operating out of a storage unit, that's no knock against them.
Right.
But now this is an enterprise. It's pretty cool.
So, Elijah, when you went from 1 crew to 2 or 2 to 3, what were some of the growing pains? What broke when you made those next steps?
I want to start with, to go through these different stages, you really need to, and you guys know what I'm talking about, you really need to have intentionality. It needs to be a goal. It needs to be written down. It needs to be verbalized to the team, and it needs to be planned. And so right from the start, we've always had that big vision, that big goal of growing, expanding, right? Before we even started it, we looked up the biggest company in our location and, this is who we're going to be. That was our North Star, right? So we always had the vision to go towards that. And then you also just, those early stages, you just have to be stupid enough to believe you can do it. That's just the reality, right? So from the first truck to that second truck, again, it was a goal, it was a plan, it was written down, and we're going to do it whether we were ready or not. Were we ready? Absolutely not. I look back at that first year as we were trying to figure out how to actually do the floor, sell, market, everything's new. It was me and 3 other guys that had started this, Noah, Mike, and Dylan, and everybody was just kind of trying to figure it out. But the plan was always to have that second truck up and running next year, whether we were ready for it or not. Heading into that fall of that first year, everything broke, right? Everything just became chaotic. It was no longer fun putting out the fires. And our first, we'll call it, first step to overcoming that big problem was I got to introduce the E-Myth. So I rented a cabin, drove up north, listened to it, sat down, and created what we call our first process, our first system, right, to try to dial in some like chaos. And then from there on, from 1 truck to 2 trucks to 3 trucks, they're all different learning lessons.
Now, that's funny you mentioned the E-Myth. Great book. And I know there's a Contractors version. It's like a must read for contractors.
Absolutely.
And, what I'm finding with a lot of folks that are in that 1 to 2 crew phase, I'm glad you mentioned core values and having that big goal and being stupid enough to pursue it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, Alosha, do you find this when you're trying to grow your business, hit a big target, do you find that people genuinely try to talk you out of it? Like tell you why it's not going to work or tell you why that's a bad idea?
I've learned this lesson, and it's been one of my best lessons, is I am careful who I talk to about my big goals. I know the people that will receive it and give me constructive feedback or encourage me. And then I also know that the people that'll hear my big goals and just do nothing but tear me down. So I'm very selective on who I share these with.
Yeah, so I've noticed that you've started to work with these, like getting yourself surrounded by people, and you're starting to create these like Facebook groups and all this stuff around. Where all are you starting some of these contractor coatings groups? Is it just on Facebook? Where are you starting them at?
Yeah, so we've started one, and that was revolved around Builder Prime. We'll call it the user end page, right? Builder Prime's got their own. We switched over from House Call Pro, that was the wrong CRM for our business, and we switched over to Builder Prime, and we did it too late. Too late, meaning, we've got 20, 25 people, we're 3 years in. It's very hard to change CRMs, right? Because all your systems processes have to change. And I found it very difficult to do, so I wanted to create a online place for other people that are thinking about getting on Builder Prime, share suggestions, right? Because you're going from a school bus to a Ferrari. You have to, it takes a little bit more of setup, and that was the idea behind that Builder Prime community page.
So I ran into a lot of business owners that will grow or say they're going to grow when they find the right people, right? So how do you attract good people to your organization And how do you keep from constantly having to babysit folks? Like, how do you find those resources that are going to help you grow and not hold you back?
Yeah. So as much as I like to take credit for us just like working really hard and knowing all the right answers and, this and that, I truly believe that half of it was just dumb luck. And here's what I mean by that. The first three people that came on board, right? Micah, Noah, and Dylan, it was just luck that they were in a place in life to be able to come on and see this through with me, right? So it was a mixture of my friends, it was a mixture of my wife's friends, just the people that were available at the time. And it just so happened that these guys were just absolute rock star studs that bought into the vision and participated into it, right? So I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but your first couple hires, you just got to be lucky, right? So get lucky, have a clear vision and picture of what you want to do, share that with them. And then the most important thing, those first couple of years, if you say we're going to do something, you absolutely have to do it. These big goals, these big dreams, every single year we'd stand up and say, we're going to do this, this, and this. And you have to do those, right? And you'll start creating that trust within that core team, and then they'll, help you grow it. And as far as hiring, every single year we're coming out with a new hiring process. It's something that we're constantly doing, constantly refining, trying to get the right people on at the right time. And, so that's an ongoing thing that we're constantly learning.
So in your mind, like you kind of just talked about it, like in your mind, you are always refining your processes, always taking that next step to improve yourself. Is there anything that you look back and say, like, this is as good as we can get, we're not going to improve it anymore? Or is everything open to improvement?
Yeah. So I guess we always say that the best that this company can do is 9 out of 10. We will never do something 10 out of 10, right? So it's that mindset that everything can always be better. The first couple of years I would show up on the floor and I promised them I could find something that could be better, right? And so that was always kind of our mentality. And as far as, the systems and processes, the way that we've grown, just kind of give you guys some context, that first year was 400, the second year was 1 million, that third year was 1, then it was 2, then it's 4, and now we're 8, right? So these leaps that we've had gone through, they're different companies, right? Every system, every single year has to break and it has to be fixed.
Well, that's so funny because I was about to say, we've got a saying in my company. It's, will always get everything to 90% and never to 100. And I used to think that's because I wasn't good at finishing projects. So, but now I realize 90% of shipped is better than perfection because you'd never fucking get anything out there. And then it's always refinement and refinement. Even perfection needs refinement. So, see, Terry, you taking notes here, bro?
Reasons for you never to finish anything, or
There you go.
Now, by the way, this is staggering because I had an idea because I've worked with these people that you're talking about, like Noah, I've met, like they are awesome guys. But let's rewind a little bit. If you were to talk to the guy that's got the $400,000 a year concrete coating company, which the market is full of these guys, what's one of the mistakes you made at that size you could hopefully give them advice on?
Sure. Yeah, so the couple of people that I've worked with at that stage, the first thing that I always encourage people to do is get on the right CRM right from the start. That's simple to do. And then the second is to start understanding your finances. Start understanding how to price jobs. We came into the market and our plan was, we were going to charge low enough to get going and high enough to hopefully break even. That was it, right? And that mentality carried on for 3 years until it was almost too late. It's a lot harder to turn a ship, today than it would have been that first year had I just, figured out how to properly price out jobs and understand my finances.
Now, when you say that, a lot of people, I think, when they look at CRMs are looking at it like, well, the expense. Did you feel the same way at that small level? Like, wow, we can't afford this? Or what was your disposition on that, Alosha?
I just didn't sit down long enough to look into it, to research it.
Yeah.
I Googled CRM. I picked the first one that was on top of the page and I just sent it, right? Didn't understand the value of data. I didn't understand the value of collecting customer information. I didn't have anybody to tell me that was important, right? So now when I'm talking to people in those earlier stages, now they have no excuse. I'm telling them, hey, this stuff is important.
So it's the ability. So had you have been able to
I'm
reach
sorry, Terry, the epoxybility.
Poxybilities.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
epoxybilities.
Poxybilities. There you go.
I'm a few beers away from understanding this
Yeah,
concept, but
that's all right. Yeah, we got to get that branding in there, man. It's slick branding. That's my next question's coming up about his branding. It's cool.
so I think we've seen this a number of times across home service industries, right? So it's not just floor coating or foundations. It's not just encapsulations, but it seems like people who have been successful, like yourself, are willing and more than happy to help that next group, that next generation of young entrepreneur who wants to step up, even if they're going to eventually down that road be a competition possibly. I mean, what is that like to see or help someone take that next step into that career pathway or that entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I've got kind of a chip on my shoulder about this. So, those first couple months as I was doing, we'll call it market research, trying to reach out to guys, I joined all the Facebook groups. I called all the local people around my area and I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. If I asked a question on a Facebook group, I'd get 99 replies of people telling me not to get into it. And then one or two of those guys would actually answer the question, right? So it was just very difficult, trying to get any information out of anybody, right? So now, as these people are coming in, I know exactly what they're experiencing. And I will drop everything I'm doing to take an hour or two to talk to them. A, because I love talking about the stuff. And B, I know where they're at.
It's interesting with the whole concept of like Facebook groups in general. And it's like, man, there's so much hate out there.
Yeah.
And well, there's always somebody out there that's got an opinion. You know the saying, Terry, opinions are like assholes, right? And everybody's got them. Man alive. But I'm sure you've gotten some hate on this, but I love it. I think the first 5 minutes I met you, I was like, your branding is on point. Like, I love it. I want to hear the story about this brand journey. And obviously the dog I've seen on social, the real dog versus the dog mascot. So this is a bold move for a lot of companies. They're afraid to take the leap that you took. So talk to us through the story about your branding, because it's on point. It's cool.
So when I first got into the business, I went on Facebook, or not Facebook, on YouTube, and I started looking for podcasts, right, to listen to learn. One of my, I guess, early on influencer was Tommy Mello, right? So I listened to a lot of Tommy Mello, and I mean, this guy brings up branding every single episode, right? I didn't realize the difference between home services and home improvement. And, so I just spent, that first 2 years just listening to him. And I went down that rabbit hole of listening to HVAC contractors, and they're very, very heavily invested into branding. So that was the motivation to go from, the white truck with a sticker on it to just a full-on rebrand.
Now, when you went through that process, because obviously it's beyond just like having a cool logo and then a little mascot, a little cartoon, like you've embodied this into all sorts of things of the business, not only just the logo, but uniforms, truck wraps, hell, social media posts, things like that. And then you never answer my question. What's a dog's name?
Lady.
Oh, okay.
Lady.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. End of show, folks. That's all I wanted to know was the dog's name, and I'm glad to have you, Alosha. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm a dog guy. Can you tell? Terry's a cat guy. So I'm kidding. You're a cow guy. You got plenty of cows, but no, like branding, like you did boldly, is expensive. Like it's one of those where it's like, man, do we do this? So take me through that journey, because I don't think a lot of people go through that either.
Yes. I was very surprised by how expensive it was. Just the initial cost of working with the firm to rebrand. It was about a 3 to 4 month process, a lot of back and forth. And then on top of that, this is not what we had imagined it was going to look like. As a matter of fact, we didn't really know what it was going to look like. We picked a firm and they said, hey, we really want to be dazzled. Do your best work, right? And then they started coming up with stuff and we're like, no, that's not it. That's not it. And then through some hesitation, we landed on this. And even that was kind of scary to commit to it, right? Because it wasn't something that we're just like, that's it. So yeah, went through that whole process. And then at the time, we thought we were doing it a little bit too late. We only had 6 trucks on the road, but thank God we did it then, versus waiting a year or two from now. So it wasn't too late. It was perfect timing. As far as making the investment into it, it was a leap of faith. It had to have been a leap of faith. And as soon as we got those trucks on the road, I started getting calls. Hey, I saw your truck on the, this first time we've been on the road for 3-4 years. I've never received a call because somebody saw our truck on the road.
Yeah,
now we
that's
started,
cool.
you know what I mean? So just that instant, okay, people are noticing, people are seeing it.
So when you were out there looking for an organization to lead you through this rebrand, right? It sounds like you had to take some, like a leap of faith that they knew what they were doing, right? They're the experts. And so you did all your research. They're the ones to work with. And this is what they're telling you. And at some point you're like, I'm still a little hesitant, but I'm going to go with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so stepping outside of your comfort zone or maybe acknowledging that maybe you don't understand that aspect of the business as well as these experts do really helped you solidify who you are now. And it was the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that we constantly have to remind ourselves, we'll call it the average age in our company is, between everybody is like 28, 29, right? So when we're thinking of ideas and people are going, I don't like that, we always have to say, okay, but you're not our customer. We got to think of who our customer is. You're a 28, 29-year-old person. You're not going to buy a garage floor. We don't care what you want. We have to think of our customer, right? And so when we're working with that firm that does this day in, day out for a living, they understand our customer, they understand our demographic, and we just took that leap of faith.
By the way, Terry, this person, I wish I would have taken a freaking picture of this. This was on Portland, which you used to drive every day. I had to head down to Portland. And I passed the truck. It was a handyman services. Did I tell you this story?
No.
It was I get there when I get there handyman services.
Jesus.
Dude, I missed social media gold. And I'm thinking, like, there are branding people literally dying. Like, it's kind of like that saying, like, every time something happens, a fairy dies or something. Like, every time somebody gets a picture of that truck, a marketing person dies.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The fact of the matter is like, if you're going to start a company, you're going to put yourself out there, right? A lot of people who are stepping into this arena probably want to think about branding it as their name, branding it as something that's meaningful to them, right? And while that is important, it's not going to help get that next job. And I think it's important for every one of these owners that I've ever seen us talk to understands that it's not about representing who they are. It's about representing how to get to that next customer. I mean, it's not for them, it's for the customer. And
correct.
I think if a lot more companies would understand that, there'd be a lot better branding out there.
Yeah. Well, Alosha, when you first started before the rebrand, what was the company's name originally?
So it was still Endless Poxybilities. And
oh, okay, cool.
So we kept the name, but it was just a big green EP on the side of a white truck.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the first mistake. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, but a lot of concrete coatings companies, it's like Acme, or I'll just say X garage floor coatings. And it puts them in a box. And because you're doing way more than garages now, right? I'm sure it started with just some basic 22 by 22 garages, but dude, I see some of the projects you guys are doing and they are like, dude, these are industrious projects.
So funny story. When we first started, the Endless Poxybilities was supposed to encapsulate, our idea was if there was a piece of concrete and a hand with a check next to it, we'll do that job, right? We'll do whatever you want, right? And that was the idea. Endless Poxybilities, endless, right? And so the first couple of years that we were going at it, that's what we did. We just kept taking on all these jobs that every single day would, show up and try to figure out how to do it. So we're actually going the other way, right? So we started doing everything, and now we're really starting to scale down into, we'll call it a few things that we're really good at instead of just everything.
Yeah. I think that's hysterical. Sorry, by the way. That's funny. As long as, write that down. As long as it's got a check with a hand next to it, like motto. That'll be the motto for our sponsors on our podcast.
As long as there's a check.
Love our sponsors, by the way. We turned some people down. We are still trying to get Yingling for Terry, by the way, but
we need that.
Tradies, running your small business can be demanding. You got suppliers you got to work with. You're managing crews. Hell, you're chasing sales. It's a lot to take in. Listen, if you want to grow your business, you got to stop working in it and you got to start working on it. So that's where my friends at Foundation Rescue Supply come in. You're not just getting foundation repair products and waterproofing products and air quality control products. With their nationwide distribution, you're getting a partner who knows how to help you scale. And that's why I use them. The Foundation Rescue Supply team has industry knowledge that'll help make your life easier. You get the tools, the trainings, the systems that you need to move the needle. You want your sales team to close more leads? Done, because they have the proven process for that. You need your crews to work smarter, not harder? Done. Their installation training will get you out there and rocking and rolling in the field. With Foundation Rescue Supply, you're not just buying materials here. You're buying a better business system that they have helped create. And you sell more, you install more, and you grow your team. So the bottom line is this: you get best industry pricing, you get field productivity on track, and you get more revenue out of everybody on your team. So this is your chance to step up, scale up, and thrive. If you are ready to make that happen, head to foundationrescuesupply.com, check out their catalog, and speak to my friends, their team, how you can take beyond the products with your company with Foundation Rescue Supply. In regards to that, though, Alosha, this concept of scaling, you're also starting to scale an expansion through acquisition. Is that right? Yeah. So obviously, I wasn't, seasoned in this when I went first through it, and it doesn't sound like you were either. So you grew the company, or are expected to grow quite a bit through acquisition. Take us through that process. What was that like recently by expanding through acquisition and buying other companies?
Yeah. So this all started with, are you guys familiar by any chance with Jeff Gear?
I've heard the name. I'm not very familiar. Terry,
Haven't even heard the name, so
you
got one up on me.
Okay.
Well, by the way, Terry's more commercial, so we'll give him credit. He's a big commercial guy.
So one thing about me is I'm typically not the innovator. I'm typically not the first person to go out and do things, right? But if I see somebody else do it, then I'll copy it, right? And I met Jeff Gear a couple of years ago, and we'll call it the titan of our industry. I was able to get a day with him where, I bugged him for a year straight to be able to come down there, meet him, spend the day with him. So I go down there, he shows me around, and at some point, he shoots his pitch about acquiring us. So now I'm sitting here. I've learned how he's grown. So it's through greenfield and acquisitions. He's been very successful in those two realms. And he pitches me the opportunity to join them. And so that was my first kind of exposure, we'll call it, to the idea of acquisitions. I came back. We ended up going our separate ways. And with the idea of acquisition, same thing as, what I said earlier. We just picked the time, picked the date. We said, hey, this year's going to be the year that we're going to do this. Nobody knows how. And just spent all of last year kind of working with somebody that I knew within my network, back to, helping somebody out when they're first starting out, somebody that helped out. Reached out to him, passed the idea along, and here we are.
I'm glad you mentioned this, because there's a lot of companies that are like, I want to buy another company. And the first one that comes along, they're like, okay, I'm going to buy you. And it's just like they're checking a box.
Yeah.
So it seems like you are way more strategic with this new partnership. And I call them partnerships all the time, because you're partnering with all the existing employees, right?
Yep.
So what was that process looking like when you addressed this company that you did purchase and bringing them into your company and the qualifiers there?
Yeah, so we just closed on it actually 30 days ago today, and we all got together last night, had pizzas, and we talked about the first 30 days. I was very fortunate enough to have met all of them ahead of time, right? So I've known them for last year and a half. I was very familiar with their business. They were initially up for sale to be sold somewhere else. That deal fell through. So then when we came around, everybody was familiar with who we were and what we've done, right? We weren't strangers. I think there was a lot of confidence that we weren't just going to come in and, flip the business upside down. So there was a portion of trust that went into that. We met the whole team a couple weeks prior, answered all the questions that we could possibly answer. And then, again, this is our first time doing it, so we're kind of figuring out a way to best transition them right now. But it's going pretty well.
So can you kind of talk about, I mean, you've had a radical change just over the past few years, right? And now that you're an owner, what does a typical day look like for you? And how have you grown in your role as an owner from first starting the business to where you sit now?
So we'll call my official role right now is I'm the operations director.
Okay.
I am working with the
Hold on,
department.
time out. Let's hear what you think it is, Alosha. Chief fuck it up officer. I want to hear this. That's what my wife calls me. She's like, all right, here comes a chief fuck it up officer. Like I'm a disruptor. So when I hear a fancy C-suite title, which to be clear, an $8 million a year company, I mean, that's C-suite level, but what do you imagine it being? Sorry, Terry, I interrupted your question, but I had to call that out. Like, come on, bro. I know what this is about.
No, my day-to-day for the most part it's very, very boring. I work with 5 people, typically on the day-to-day, work with those 5 people. Right now, I'm pretty heavily involved in that turnover over at Stoneluck, so that's where I'm that chief fuck-up officer. But, over here on the Endless side, I'm pretty useless. Nobody really needs me on a day-to-day, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, kind of sad.
You might not want HR to hear that, like that you're kind of useless.
Yeah.
What is title? I was going to say his new title that I just gave him are useless. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, that I've gone through that, and I think that's the biggest struggle that small companies have growing, because there is a point where you're not needed. You are the fulcrum when very important things are needed. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like with Stoneluck, and I love this. Are you going to rebrand Stoneluck as well?
No, we're going to keep the brand.
Oh, cool. So you're going to keep that culture intact, and you're going to grow that independently. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you've got to be the guy, the momentum person.
Yes.
Then you got to hand it off to the team that actually checks all the boxes and make sure that processes are met, and you're bringing into the CRM and all that. So that's funny. That's how I am. I tell people I'm good from 0 to 12 million. And then after that, I'm better off handing it on to my team that can take it well beyond that, because I'm a disruptive personality. So if we don't have any initiatives, I get very restless. And then I start a podcast with a stranger I met, a software company, move into a studio, and a nonprofit. We'll throw that in there. Hey,
but you glance over it, but I think there's a huge aspect of that is understanding where your strengths are and being able to admit where your weaknesses are, right?
No.
And I don't care who you are, that is a difficult conversation to have. And in every successful person I've been around, and I'm not including you, Will, in that group.
Thanks, bro.
You're welcome, buddy. It has actually been able to be honest with themselves, right? Everyone that we've talked to has been honest with themselves.
Yeah. Well, maybe behind closed doors. So actually, I have a feeling, I have a theory here. So Alosha, I've been married to my wife almost 22 years, and I've worked with her 18.
That's incredible.
You are sitting in your wife's desk right now.
Yes.
How's that going? Not just sitting at her desk, but working with your spouse, because you do 2022 to now, the size that you guys have grown, you've grown it together. Like, tell me about that experience. That's like, I know it's not easy, so you don't have to get too into the details, but a lot of owner operators work with their spouse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that journey been like for you guys?
I've absolutely loved it, right? So when we first started, she still held on to her job, right? Because we still had bills and we had a mortgage and stuff like that. So she was going to be responsible and, be the backdrop, pay the bills. And then we actually got her into the business full time a year and a half ago, I want to say. And it's been incredible, right? I mean, ideally, everybody cares about the business the same way that you care about it, right? But your wife is going to have we'll call it a different interest in it, right? Working with her, I love her. She's my best friend, so on the day to day, it's great. We'd be what HR would call a nightmare. You know what I mean?
I hope Chris doesn't edit out that long pause.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the best way to say it, right? We talk to each other like we would at home, and I love it. It's been absolutely great working with her.
So do you see a power kind of divide? Because hold on. What is your wife's title now? Now we can get to her title in the company.
Marketing manager. So she's taken over the marketing function of the business.
Oh, okay. So I bet this happens all the time. Vendors call asking for you, don't they? And you have noted.
Now I don't have to talk to. It's fantastic. I don't have to be sold on golf cart advertisements, and this is great. I love it.
Oh man, we had a guy, Terry, I think I told you this. This guy was sitting outside one of my sales manager's office, and he was a vendor, and he's waiting. My wife came out, and she said, who is Sydney, is the operator of our company.
Yeah, the boss.
Yeah. And she comes out and she goes, can I help you? And he goes, no, I'm just waiting for that guy. And he waited there for 30 minutes. Finally, the sales manager came out and was like, can I help you? And he was like, yeah, I just want to talk to you about your safety gear and PPE and stuff. And he goes, well, I'm a sales manager. Talk to the owner. And he looked over.
Yeah.
And looked at Cindy like, I just killed myself. And it's just funny. So I just laugh at this stuff because I still get emails like, hey, you should buy this marketing campaign. And I'm like, I don't have a dog in this fight, bro. Like, sorry, dog, back to your branding. But
oh, that's funny.
That's the segue. But hey, this is what's crazy is because I think you could probably look back, Alosha, and relate to this in the smaller days, right? Is there are certain numbers that you probably look at religiously in the concrete coating space every day, every week. And what were those numbers in the early days versus now? And what would you recommend they be every single day and week for those smaller companies?
Yeah, so for the first 2 to 3 years, I mean, it was the numbers that we focused on was the bank account. Was there money in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other number that we really tracked was revenue, right? We set these revenue goals, and that's the only thing we tracked. Big mistake. Having learned from those, we'll call it 2 to 3 years, now on a day-to-day basis, we are tracking everything from lead received to lead issued, demos. We're tracking close rates, NSLIs. On the production side, we're tracking installed revenue, gross profit. We're job costing now. On a company level, we're looking at the P&L, top line revenue, gross profit, net profit. So now there's a lot more numbers to look at, but we have dedicated people paying attention to different numbers, right? It's not one person, looking at every single metric every single day.
Well, looking forward now, because I want to be clear, and I'm sure you're not the type of person to do this, Alosha. You guys have built something amazing. And I know you guys don't think you're there yet. And you don't feel like you probably have built something amazing. Of course, internally, it's good to feel good and hug everybody and be, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, that's great. All right, keep your distance. What's the next 3 to 5 years look for you guys? Because you guys have shown more is possible for concrete coatings.
Yeah, we've got a pretty aggressive plan for the next 3 to 5 years. In the short term here, we're actually working on bringing somebody in to kind of take us through those next 3 to 5 years. I truly believe that it's time for me to step aside on the operational side. I can have the vision, I can have the plan, but I really need somebody that knows what they're doing to come in. Looking at the next 3 to 5 years, we're planning on greenfield and acquisition. And ideally, we go, bring on an investment partner in the next 3 to 4 years.
So if you were to look back and you're looking at concrete coatings as, because Will had mentioned it before, it seems like companies offering this service are starting to pop up. Why is it becoming as popular as it is now? And what do you see homeowners hoping to get out of this level of service when they engage with you?
So one of the reasons why I love the concrete coating space was I felt like there was a barrier to entry. You have to buy a truck, a grinder, these vacuums. It's kind of a skilled trade. It's not like painting where anybody can go to Home Depot, pick up a roller and become a painter, right? And so I thought this was just a gold mine idea back in 2022. What I didn't realize was thousands of other people had the same thought. And it's like this entire industry just blew up overnight. A lot of money got, shoveled into marketing on Facebook, some of the social media platforms. So this industry blew up overnight. The industry's blowing up on the consumer side and also on the contractor side, right? There's a lot more suppliers out there. They're doing training classes that are promising, for you to become a millionaire in the first year. The market is there, right? As far as the coatings go themselves, I mean, it is, it's a protective coating. You're able to repair concrete with it and it, looks pretty, right? So there's a market for it. Where it's going in the next 3 to 5 years, I think this industry is going to keep growing. And one thing that I'm starting to notice is we'll call it some of the more sophisticated operators out there from outside the coating industries are starting to come into it with a level of knowledge that the art industry doesn't have yet, right? We see, I'm part of a couple mastermind groups where, they're roofers, they're bath guys, the industries that have figured out home improvement. They have the playbook. It's the same playbook. And I see those guys coming into our space here in the next 3 to 5 years.
I mean, all of these different home service industries, right? So depending on the industry or the service that you're providing, they all tend to have the same branding requirements, insurance requirements, customer service, all that. Is there anything in your industry that you have seen maybe these, let's say, outsiders not be able to pick up yet?
The only thing that I see them struggling with is our average tickets are substantially smaller than some of the other home improvement, home service, right? So it does come down to being a volume game. You have to have a big production team. You have to generate a lot of leads. You have to have a lot of salespeople, right? So that's one thing that I think people are missing in the coating space.
No, that's good to hear. Like I wouldn't have suspected that, especially because it's an artistic craft. But of course, heck, then you all of a sudden you have Home Depot trying to sell the product direct to the freaking consumer. Right?
Exactly.
Are you finding that, Alosha, where like you're having to redo bad homeowner work? I'm sure it's probably a common thing. I don't know. Hey, is that common?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll never try to talk somebody out of doing a DIY kit. We'll hand them a card and we'll ask them to call us in a couple of years. We'll never talk them out of it.
When it goes wrong, please call us.
Yeah, we'll come back out.
Now, I feel that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm completely naive. I've always been interested in your space, and I have had tons of concrete coatings manufacturers approach me because I'm in concrete leveling. And they want to tell me about the market growth, and the market growth numbers look great. Have you started to see private equity move into your space and trying to gobble up companies in the epoxy coatings arena?
Yeah, so we've got, we'll call it the one mammoth that, and they're countrywide, TSR and the Revamp Group. They're in our market. They're the first ones that really kind of kicked it off. And today in the Twin Cities market, we have 2 private equity companies. I personally absolutely love it. I love private equity. It's not, for us, it's not like, in the Twin Cities here, roofing is just getting decimated because these private equity groups are coming in, they're underbidding, and they're just taking guys out left and right. For us, these private equity firms are coming in here and they're raising prices.
Yeah.
Which has been great for us, right? Because now we're able to grow with them that way. So I love it.
Well, I think that's the same in my market. We've got private equity in my market. I used to work with private equity in my industry. And it's one of those where it's like, it actually enhances it's good competition. If you know what's coming. And especially in the early stages, man, it's going to be awesome. So, well, Alosha, listen, you are somebody who I admire. You have grown something beyond what most, I would say 90%. By the way, let me rewind a little bit. I am happy to hear you say that you were in a mastermind group with other people from other industries. It's so often to my performance clients that I hear, well, you don't know our industry. And it's like, come on, bro. Like, it's home services. It's not that hard. Market, answer the damn phone, sell the job, put it in the ground, count your money, measure the gross profit, do it again, recycle it back and forth. It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Like I see it in fencing, insulation, concrete coatings, foundation repair, all sorts of siding.
Yep.
And it's like, man, this is like, there's a model. And I'm glad to hear you. And I hope the listeners, 6 of them now, they take away that, like, join a mastermind, even if it's not the same industry.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, how do people get a hold of you? Obviously, we mentioned your name. We're going to put some things in the show notes. I'm pumped about you continuing your group efforts, but how do they get a hold of you if they have questions they want to ask you?
The easiest way is going to be on Facebook. Find me on Facebook. If you type in my name, I've got 2 Facebook profiles. The other one I can't get to because it was from a long time ago. You're going to know which one that is. Okay. And then
I love the honesty, bro. He's got hair. And,
yeah. And then now you'll find the one that I'm on every single day here.
That is funny.
That is hysterical. Actually, Chris, if you're listening to this, our producer, who's filling up for Drake, go ahead and put the old Facebook link in there. We got to give a comparison.
God, if it's a mullet, I'm going to die.
Long surfer hair.
Yes. Oh, there we go. I do it.
Backwards hat, earrings. Oh man, it was a wild time.
What 2000 and what 10, 9?
No, we're talking 2015, 2016.
Oh, yes.
Recent.
Man, dude. And look at us. We're balding and like we're getting gray. Oh, sorry. No offense, Alosha. But anyway, we're gaining weight, Terry. Obviously, Chris and Alosha had a great talk about fasting for 21 days before the show. What a bunch of weirdos. Anyway, Alosha, you are somebody I respect, I admire. You're doing amazing things for the industry. Just know that you're kicking ass, and your team is awesome because I know them.
Yep.
But listen, I appreciate you for coming on and just sharing your experience. Terry, even though you didn't give me good glowing reviews on our first impression, I do love you and appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And to you listeners out there, listen, I know you're out there, and I respond to your comments on YouTube and Spotify and TikTokies. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week on another episode with Beers with Contractors. See ya. Peace.
See ya.
Nice.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.